This is the Entrepreneur Podcast, where we have the privilege of interviewing entrepreneurs and business owners here in the Pacific Northwest. I am your host, Isaac Schaefer.
And I am your co-host, Drew West. You ready to get into it, man?
Let's go. Jake Furfaro, thank you so much for being here today, man. We are excited to have you.
And excited to be here.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming in. We appreciate it.
So Jake is a property manager. You have your own property management company, and you also invest in real estate. Mm-hmm. And we just talked about this right before the podcast started, but you do some low-key business consulting as well. Are you charging for that?
I am, yeah,
Nice.
yeah. But we don't really advertise it just because it's not something I want to. It's not scalable.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'm excited to hear about all of it, man. Where do we start? Like, I guess let's start at the beginning. You were just telling us a little bit about what you did before real estate. So maybe let's start there and then tell us how you transitioned from that into real estate.
yeah. So, growing up, I'm a high school dropout. I dropped out of high school when I was 15 years old. Grew up, food stamps, Section 8, that type of stuff. Got my GED. Went on to just continued taking some college classes and ended up getting a bachelor's degree in marketing. Well, didn't really like the business world. It's funny now, looking back, it just doesn't make sense. But I didn't really like the business world, so I started, kind of looking at other paths. And nursing school was something I pursued for a couple different reasons. And became a nurse about 6 years ago, and then started investing in real estate shortly after. One of the reasons I felt passionate about real estate was because as a nurse, no matter how good of a nurse you are, it doesn't really matter because like your pay is capped, right?
Right.
You could have a great nurse and you could have a really crappy nurse. They still get paid the same. And there's something about that rubbed me the wrong way. And then I started just kind of reading business books, entrepreneur books, and I'm like, okay, there's another way. Started buying real estate. After I bought some real estate, I realized my capital just wasn't going to go very far here in Washington because of our outrageous market. Started buying out of state, Midwest, some in Northern California, and now I own about 156 units total across a bunch of different asset classes: multifamily, single family, mobile home parks, RV parks. And now I'm transitioning just fully into business. I don't really plan on buying any more real estate in the next few years until interest rates drop. So business is where it's at.
So, excuse me, you're planning on doing what you were doing with real estate with business. You're buying businesses
Yes.
or just focusing on the business you have currently?
We're buying businesses actively.
Nice.
Boring businesses, businesses that are going to, because if you look at it, there's like 9,000 boomers retiring a day, and 17% of them own small businesses. And
17. Wow, I would not have guessed that.
And a lot of those businesses are going to be either killed, as in they're just going to go away, or they're going to be handed off to grandkids that don't really care about them. So the plan, and I don't know if any of you guys follow Cody Sanchez, but she's essentially like the Pace Morby of small businesses.
Yeah.
And just closed on a cleaning company last week. It's a small, cleaning company that has 8 full-time employees doing just under $500,000 a year in revenue. And it has a lot of things already in place. And down payment was $35,000. Tell me what a piece of real estate will cash flow, just over $6,000 a month with $35,000 down.
Yeah,
You can't
not
find
many.
it.
Jeez, yeah, no kidding.
So
how are you finding businesses like this? Because I would assume like you could be way too broad, right? And if you're looking with too broad of goggles, and you're gonna have analysis paralysis and not be able to hone in on what is your bread and butter. And so how did you kind of determine like what would be the type of businesses you'd pursue? Like walk us through that decision.
Yeah, so at the core of everything is property management. And so anything that serves a property management company that I hire out and spend retail prices for, that's what I'm attracted to. So the first thing was I started a cleaning company out of grassroots, just out of necessity for all the move-in, move-outs and some residential cleans. And then we were looking and we're like, why don't we just buy a cleaning business? So we started looking at, different places, and I don't want to buy anything that's for sale. Essentially anything that's for sale. Just like in real estate, we look off market, right? We do the same thing with businesses. Excuse me. One thing that I will buy a business if it's for sale, if it's not represented by a broker, because brokers just, no offense, just screw everything up.
Yeah.
For the buyer.
Well, and they upcharge. I mean, they have to sell it for more to cover their fees. Right?
Yeah. And brokers don't really like you sitting across from the table of the seller. And I have to sit at a table and look somebody in the eyes and see that, their character before I purchase a business, because you can hide a lot of things in a P&L statement.
Oh man, absolutely. I love that. That's great.
So we're looking everywhere. We're looking on Craigslist. We're looking on Facebook Marketplace. We're looking on Biz by Sell, for sale by owner, LoopNet. And then I have a virtual assistant that's just calling every cleaning company in the state of Washington, every property management company in the state of Washington, just trying to get in contact with the owner and let's have a conversation. Have you thought about selling? Are you going to close shop? I bought a property management company in October, essentially a book of business. Guy was having a hard time. I bought a 80 unit portfolio for $8,000. Wow. So businesses, if you can put the systems and processes in place, it's never going to be passive. But passive income, the way it's sold, is a lie anyway. Nothing's really passive. So if I have to be a little bit more hands-on and hire a general manager and manage that person, that's okay, right?
Right.
So if you guys don't mind, maybe we can back up a little bit, because I feel like all of this was predicated on the fact that you started picking up real estate, right? Mm-hmm. So you said you skipped over a part that I maybe wanted to touch on for anyone who's listening, right? You said I had $35,000. I purchased some real estate and realized, oh, my money's not going to go that far. Mm-hmm. What did you do?
Well, I had more than the $35,000 mark was what we put down on the cleaning company, right?
Gotcha. Okay.
So I had about 50 to 75,000 of my own money just saved up, where I house hacked a few times here and there.
This is the Entrepreneur Podcast, where we have the privilege of interviewing entrepreneurs and business owners here in the Pacific Northwest. I am your host, Isaac Schaefer.
And I am your co-host, Drew West. You ready to get into it, man?
Let's go.
Money, private lenders, grow our portfolio off of their wealth, giving them a return, and just continue to grow it. Started buying in Missouri. So I bought three single-family houses in Missouri for $80,000.
Kansas City?
Actually, right in the middle of Kansas City and St. Louis.
Gotcha.
A small town called Columbia. And got a hard money loan, refinanced at $80,000 out, did a rehab on them. Like, okay, these cash flow $200 a month. This isn't very exciting.
Yeah.
So I started looking at, multifamily, picked up a 13 unit there for no money out of pocket, because we got an 80% loan from the bank, and the seller carried 20%. The thing people don't know about these small credit unions, especially in Midwest towns, they're open to doing that type of thing. You go to Bank of America or KeyBank or BCU here, nobody's going to let you finance 100% of anything. It's just not a thing. But the small credit unions that are very investor friendly down there, they want the money out there working, because they have more money than they know what to do with. So I think it's very underrated. If somebody's trying to invest, especially in a smaller, invest long distance, because I know a lot of people in Washington invest a lot long distance because of our market. They need to be calling those banks. Make a list of them. Get a list of 100 small credit unions and call 10 a day. Introduce yourself, and it's crazy. That's what I did. It worked.
So you went after the money before you went after the deal?
I went after the money once I already had the deal.
Okay.
Yeah, so I had it under contract before. I didn't know how I was going to fund it, but that's pretty much that's how I do anything, really. Like, yeah. Can you do it? Yeah, I can do it. Well, now I got to go figure out how to do it, right? Because that's how you're forced to grow. That way.
That's super cool. So, I mean, you're up to 100 and how many doors now?
I own 156.
How much of that is mobile homes? Roughly.
60. 72.
Wow. Okay.
So, yeah.
That's crazy. And you just started 6 years ago? invest in real estate?
4 years ago.
Wow.
4 years ago. Yeah,
That's
but
incredible, man.
most of that was done in like the first 3 years. I bought one RV park that started this year in California, but other than that, nothing.
So are you partnering with people at this point? Because like you said, we had about 50 to 70K. Or was this all you? Like you just kept figuring it out?
I got a partner in Missouri, so that we did the mobile home park with. So for the first mobile home park we bought, we needed 500K cash to put down as a down payment and 100,000 for some stabilization. So what we did there is found an equity partner from Wari, our investing group here, and they came in and put the money down, and they're in a majority equity position until we refinance, which is coming around the corner. We refinance, and then we switch spots. So majority, minority, 80-20, 20-80. So it's nice because it's a way of building your wealth through sweat equity and stabilizing an asset. And it's nice for them because they get all their money back and they still get,
20% of the deal,
which is a couple $1,000s a month, right?
That's incredible.
Forever.
Yeah.
So, and I've never sold anything except for right now this dang flip in Tacoma won't sell. But
Oh yeah.
other than that, I've never sold anything.
Yeah, let's talk about the flipping. So when did you start doing that?
Well, it started with when I say flipping, because a lot of people, don't really know what the Burr method is, so I say flip, but instead of sell, I just refinance. So I've done 5 of those long distance, and this was my first one doing one here in local, and found it off market from a wholesaler, picked up for 410, put 20 into it, and it's listed at 540. And the thing, it's crazy because we've had so many showings, such great feedback, and only 2 offers. And I'm like, okay, it's not overpriced. We're the smallest per square foot in Tacoma right now. We're like 209 per square foot. We're at like 2,700 square feet.
Wow.
It's fully remodeled, detached garage with alley access, like things everybody wants. But
Where's it at?
Off Yakima at 56. 1, the area. 2, it's huge. It's a 6-bedroom. The buyer pool for a 6-bedroom is that, and that was a good learning lesson for me. It's like when you're flipping, stay with 3 or 4 bedrooms. Don't go to 5 or 6.
Diminishing returns after 4. Big time.
Yep. And that was a learning curve for me because I've never stepped into that huge house.
Yeah.
So
busy street can also be a huge pain.
Yeah. So, but it's learning every day.
Yeah. So was your plan originally to burr that?
No,
okay.
It's to sell it. It was a quick, 100K profit deal. So I'm like, let's just get in, get out.
How do you, I'm sorry, I got to ask, how do you flip a home for 20 grand? We flipped a home last year and it was a little more than 20.
Yeah.
A lot more.
Slave labor for sure. I have nephews that work for pennies on the dollar. We did some work ourselves. We put a little work into it. The thing is, we only had to do paint, floors, so a really good clean, landscape, and I do have good contractors that work for us for decent prices, and then we did some work ourselves on it too.
It's amazing what paint and floors will do to a house. Dude, like it's incredible.
It's crazy. And some good pictures, good lighting.
Absolutely.
Fixtures.
And then if you do some landscaping too, like it's great. And as long as the house, like the kitchen and the bathrooms aren't, from the 70s or 80s, yeah, man, you can get away with just doing stuff like that.
Dude, one of the
pretty quick
biggest transformations of a kitchen was this one right here for the least amount of money I've ever seen. So they did Subway white tile, just traditional, but it had this yellow, ugly grout, just terrible. And I'm like, okay, are we going to really just rip all this out and redo it? Because I'm not going to sit here and dig this grout out, right?
Yeah.
So I researched a bunch, and I didn't know that grout dye was a thing.
Yeah.
I've never even heard of it before. So I sat there for like 5 hours and dyed every piece of grout in the kitchen. I spent $60, and it totally transformed the entire thing. And I'll show you pictures afterwards, but it was nuts.
Yeah, we've done that before too. It's that dye is killer. And then you don't have to use like a little paintbrush. if it's the same stuff, you can go just right over it and then wipe off the tile.
Yes, I use a toothbrush.
Yeah. It's really cool. Some of the new things that are coming out.
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure. So hopefully that will sell soon. We have a very interested party today looking at it, and that we're expecting an offer. So thing is, somebody could offer probably $520. I would, because I just want I want my money back.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
No, I get it. So let's get back into business shopping because I'm fascinated by that. So you're looking for adjacent businesses to your property management, right?
Yeah.
So possibly contracting companies, maybe.
Yeah.
Painting.
Yep.
Cleaners. Laundromat.
Plumbing. Laundromat's interesting, right? Location plays a big part of it. Age of equipment plays a big part of it because I don't want to have to deal with a bunch of CapEx. But cleaning, plumbing, electricians. Contracting's hard because most contracting companies, the contractors are very much in the day to day.
Yeah. The contractor is the business. They don't have inventory.
Yeah.
They don't have, I mean, and their book of business isn't even that valuable, I would assume, because, I mean, it's not hard to get business when you're a contractor. There's more jobs out there than there are willing contractors.
100%.
Yeah.
And, but property management's another. We're looking to continue to acquire the book of businesses from property management companies. And I love property management because everybody else hates it, right?
Smart.
It sucks. It's the worst job. I have 2 evictions going right now that stress me out, that keep me up at night, but the barrier to entry it's surprisingly low. Because you only really have to have a real estate license.
Right.
So, but the upside, I don't know if you guys see or know what property management companies sell for their multiplier, but it's up there because it's a very, very passive. It can be a very passive business for an owner because most of the companies ran by virtual assistants.
Right.
Because there's truly only so many things you need to be present for: move-in, move-outs, showings, and maintenance. Everything else on the back end, paying $5 an hour for.
Right.
So no kidding. Wow, that's wild.
How are you? I understand how you're finding the companies, and then how are you deciding what you can pay for a company? Because obviously you're wanting to pay pennies on the dollar, of course, because that's your business is to make a profit. But how are you determining what exactly those pennies are that you can pay for, for these businesses?
So businesses are evaluated by just like their NOI, right? So depending on the industry and depending on what the NOI is, we'll call for a certain multiplier. So cleaning companies, for example, are usually up until they're doing about 250 to 500,000 of profit a year, they're a 2x multiplier. And you get up close to $1 million, that number increases quite a bit pretty fast and go up to a 5 to an 8. So we're looking at companies that are doing roughly in between, I would say 85 to like 250K of profit a year. So we'll be paying 2 times what that number is.
Okay, got it.
So the cleaning company, for example, they're doing 100K of profit a year. We paid 200 for it. Seller finance, 35K down, 2750 a month for 5 years. So the company will completely pay for itself. It would just be all cash flowed.
Wow.
Got that 35,000 from a private lender that will pay back before we ever take a profit. So they'll be paid back in 6 months. And they didn't want any equity position, but we would have offered an equity position of 10% or so as well. But we didn't have to go that deep, which was nice. But it's such a great strategy because if you can be an operator, you can go and buy business with other people's money, give them especially if you don't need to live off the income of the business, you can give them a return, get them whole very quick.
And then you just have the business.
And if they're an equity position, say 10 to 25 is usually enough of a pie to get people interested. But that's the goal, is just continue to scoop up little things and bring them under one umbrella and sell, down the road.
So I could see that there would be a lot of potential for conflict when you're having these negotiations, when you're reviewing a P&L, because having run this brokerage for years. I stepped down a year ago. Our P&L, we had multiple P&Ls. We had a P&L that we'd give lenders when we were trying to get loans. And then we would have a different P&L, for our taxes, right?
Do we need to cut this out?
No, but I mean, you have you have expenses that you're being a little more liberal on your taxes, and certain expenses that are more legitimate, like operating costs. Then you have things like owners who are working in the business, and they're like, yeah, our profit is $100,000, and you see at their salary that they're making is $20,000 a year, and you're like, well, I'm going to have to replace you, and to replace what you're doing, it's going to cost $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year. So I guess there wasn't really a question there. I can just imagine that'd be a point of contention when you're having these negotiations.
100%. So we're just pulled out. We were under contract on another clean company in Seattle that we're using an SBA loan, 10% down. And the reason why we pulled out is because it was presented one way. We demanded a meeting with the seller where we sat across from the table. And it's amazing what happens when you just ask questions and then shut up.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. She talked herself out of that deal, and we killed the contract because she essentially told us she's doing everything besides the cleaning. Like, she's doing all invoices, all payroll, all scheduling, 30 hours a week, right?
Right.
And so if I have to replace you, there goes half of what I was going to pay for the company.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to insult you by dropping the price to $100,000 from $200,000.
Right.
And all 5 of our employees didn't have any documentation, so that didn't help.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's hard to, or driver's license or anything. It's like, how are you going to go clean, if you can't get yourself there?
Right. So you're looking at their P&Ls, and then you have to dissect them. You have to really dig in and see, okay, who's doing this? And then the owner's like, well, I do that. And then, okay, who's doing this? Well, they do it sometimes, and I do it sometimes. And you start to add up like, okay, so you're essentially an unpaid manager, and that brings down your profit margins dramatically. And profit is how I determine how much I can pay for this business.
Yeah. And the businesses don't have to be ran, with a general manager or be very, streamlined and passive for us to be interested in it, because we can put those processes in place.
Right.
Like, that's not a hard thing to do. So we don't really want a perfect turnkey business, because where's the value add there? Because they're going to want top dollar. So it's okay for some things to need to be implemented, just not everything.
Well, it's like when you're flipping a home, and most flippers want at least 3 bedrooms because the resale is much quicker on 3 or more bedrooms. But that's not to say they wouldn't look at a 2-bedroom, 1,400 square foot home, because there's obviously room for that third bedroom. And so you're kind of looking for that third bedroom in business too. Like, where is the value add?
Yes.
And a bad manager or a bad owner, and by bad, I don't mean ethically, I mean just not good at owning a business. That's ripe for opportunity.
Yeah. And a good example of this one we just closed on, she's using her CRM, which is ZenMaid, QuickBooks for invoices, and Gusto for payroll.
Oh, wow.
ZenMaid can do QuickBooks or can do invoices and payroll. So it's like, okay, we cut $500 a month of, software costs, and then streamline everything. So it's those are just the little things that you look for.
Do you have I'm sure at this point, now that you've purchased businesses and been shopping for businesses, I'm sure you have lists of questions and checklists of where you can add value, and to see are they doing this already? Nope. Okay, we can add that. I'm sure you've got it all streamlined now.
Yeah. And that's what we like to use kind of as lead magnets to get interested people to. Are you familiar with what a lead magnet is?
No, I don't think so.
So it's just like a free piece of content that you put out there to get your email list, built up, because email is king, right? Especially in the marketing world. So we'll put out a checklist on Instagram or something, hey, drop, click this link if you want to get the, 10-step checklist or whatever it may be. And then you get an email, and then you can market to that person.
Smart.
Yeah.
Smart. What advice do you have to somebody who is looking to buy a business, and let's say they've honed in on something. Let's say they want to buy a cleaning business, just because that's what we're talking about. What advice would you have for that person, as far as like trying to first off, finding companies, and then auditing those companies before you purchase them, and then lastly, financing the purchase?
Yeah, so I'll start backwards, and the financing one it's tricky because for it to be financeable with the SBA loan, the previous or current owner is going to have to do their taxes right for 3 years.
3, okay.
Let me know how many small businesses have done their taxes right for the last 3 years.
Yeah, not many.
Probably
Yep.
less than 25%, I would
Yeah.
say. So you automatically know most of the time they're not going to be financeable, which is good because that offers terms, because a lot of people don't have 2, 3, 400K just sitting in their bank account to go buy a business. So you can get creative. So financing, you can have your price, but it's my terms, or you can have, you can have terms or you can have your price. And so it's either your price and my terms, or that's it. That's the only way you're going to get your price.
Right. If it's not financeable, absolutely.
Yeah. As far as really looking at, you want to look at the P&L, obviously, and there's things that will pop out to you. It's like, why did they spend $6,000 on meals? Why did they spend $6,000 on marketing, but don't really have evidence of new customers? You just have to go line item by line item and look for any red flags. And the most important part is being able to sit across from the person and ask the questions, because people get fidgety when they're going to have to lie. It's just like when you start studying people's behavior, and like a lot of people look to the left when they lie. There's just like little things like that. Like you just want to be in front of them. But just like real estate, when you really want something, you have to tell everybody you know about it, right? Because now, like, I have people send me property management companies that are for sale all the time.
I bet.
Right? Just like people send you guys houses for sale all the time, because you tell people what you're looking for, or, this is what my buyer's looking for.
So be that investor before you're the investor, right? Like start telling people that this is what you're doing. You're building a business. You're, looking to acquire business or businesses.
Yep.
And start being that guy before you are that guy.
Yep, exactly. Sometimes you have to fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
As cliche as that sounds, I think there's some truth to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, obviously, you've built a pretty awesome portfolio so far of businesses and real estate. Maybe you can talk a little bit about some pitfalls you've had along the way, right? Like a deal that just went completely south, and then maybe what you know now, maybe could have fixed it.
I love that question, because nobody talks about their losses or their failures, especially on the highlight reel online,
Oh, absolutely.
It's just a highlight reel. And mine is no different. Like I would call this flip that's not selling. I got money tied up in it and I want it back. And
yeah, absolutely.
There's a chance that might not sell, and we have to drop $50K, and, I'm going to still be profitable. But to me, that's a loss right there. I had a 4-unit. It was a 5-unit, a 4-unit on top, 1-unit commercial on bottom in Missouri. That the plan was, it was a restaurant on bottom, and we're going to build out 4 apartments on top. And what we budgeted for, it turned out, COVID happened and costs went up. Costs went up a lot, right?
Yeah, no
and
kidding.
that added, close to over like $50,000 to our budget. We didn't have it. So we just had to let it sit. And it's a bridge loan. And the bridge loan came due, and they're like, well, what do you guys want to do? I'm like, well, can't sell it because we started it and bought it for 95, put 60 into it. So we're about 160K in debt. It will sell for like 120. And so we're working with the bank, and, we've made a couple $10,000 deposits just straight down on what we owe. And it's still going on this day. Like, we have it for sale right now. worst comes to worst, we have to put up 30K and sell it, you know, which very well might happen in August, right? So just being prepared for it. And because as much as the internet world wants to tell you, like, there's risk in real estate investing. There truly is. And I think before you start, and luckily I didn't use anybody else's money for that besides mine. And I don't know why, because almost everything else I tried to, but I felt like I had a gut feeling like, okay, it's the biggest development project I've ever done. Because these were up top, there was no utilities, no nothing, right? It was a big construction project.
Sure. So it was completely empty up there. You were having to do the whole build out.
Yeah. So I didn't feel super comfortable with it from the get-go. So I didn't use anybody else's money. And I feel like people get in hot water when they use somebody else's money for an asset or for, you know, a project that they're not 100% for sure on. But the thought of using somebody else's money makes it seem less risky. I think it's opposite. When you're using somebody else's money, I think it's way more risky.
Feels like there's way more weight on the project, man.
I'll sell a house that has a few $100,000 of equity to pay somebody off before I'll ever default on a private loan. Just because I would stay up at night. It would eat me alive.
Right. A mentor once said to me that he likes using other people's money, even when he has the money to do a deal on his own, for a lot of reasons. But one main reason is because they force him to audit the deal better, right? So they ask him questions that maybe he wouldn't have thought of if he was buying it himself. Because, you know, you're the owner, operator, investor, and everything, and you can say, yeah, it's a good deal. But an investor might come in and say, okay, well, what's your backup plan, right? Like, what are you going to do? So this is what you're saying the cost is going to be to rehab it. What if it goes 15% over? What happens if, you know, there's a pandemic? No, just kidding.
Yeah, exactly.
I doubt anyone would have asked that question. But I thought that was a really interesting mindset to have. When you bring in partners, you get more sets of eyes auditing the deal and determining, you know, do I have any blind spots? Mm-hmm. And like you said, you kind of felt like there were some blind spots, but you didn't really know what they were. And so you bought the deal, but maybe if you had, you know, an investor, they would have seen those. Maybe, sorry, now it sounds like I'm dogging you. I'm not. I'm just like thinking outside the box here. Yeah. Maybe you would have, somebody else said, no, man, I'm not going to loan you the money for this deal because of X, Y, and Z, and then you wouldn't have bought the deal in the first place.
I think you're 100% right, and I wish I had more of those type of private lenders, because I have people that are just like throwing money at you and being like, hey, you know, I'd love to get a return. I'd love to get in on this. They don't underwrite anything. They send them the overcap, and maybe it's a little negligence on my end, you know, as far as accepting it, you know, but I feel like I do a really good job at underwriting deals and feeling
I wouldn't say it's negligent. I mean, that's what you do, you know, and that's what they do. There's a reason you're doing what you're doing, and there's a reason they're saying, hey, man, can I get a return on my money? And here it is, because I can't do it. You spent lots of time. It sounds like, you know, when you were an RN, right? You were working, and then all the other time was spent reading books and educating yourself and watching YouTube and trying to figure out how to make this whole thing work. Most people aren't going to do that because opportunity and risk are synonymous with each other, and most people don't like risk. Yeah. And when you're going to find opportunity, it's going to be risky. And they're like, hey, man, you do this, so here's my money. Yeah. So I don't think it's negligent. I think that that's what you do. And so far, you have a proven track record, and you're doing your damn thing.
I appreciate that. And I don't think opportunity looks like opportunity in the moment. And I had to just put a short out about this. And I think opportunity looks like opportunity when you have a hindsight perspective. Because in the moment, like you said, opportunity looks like risk.
It's scary. Yeah. It's always scary. Because, you know, it's either life savings, or we just took out a bunch of money on, you know, from a HELOC, or sold a house, or, you know, I just got some money, someone passed away, and I just have this money that I didn't have before. And you're like, okay, what am I going to do with it? Well, you should go do this. Oh, but what about this? And what about that? And what about this? And it all is just all of these what ifs. Well, that's the scary part. But the opportunity, like you said, is when you take that leap, you jump, and then you get to the other side of it, and you're like, oh, that was pretty sweet. That worked out pretty well. I like it.
Yeah. And so what would you guys do if you had a private lender and they came back to you, say half the way through a loan term, and they're like, "Hey, I need that money back. My grandma has cancer, or my dog died, or whatever it is."
We both just went.
I have some follow-up questions.
Yeah.
Is there obviously a firm contract?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously you don't need to let them out. I mean, I would say, like, empathetically, like, I mean, it's the same as if a tenant comes to you and says, I need to, move out. If they're willing to work with you, then, I'll try and get you out of this as painless as possible. But I need some time too.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's what I would try and make it work. But I don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'll do what I can. I'll try and find another investor. If you can try and help me find another investor, right? Going back to the tenant, if you can find someone to sublease the space, then we can do this, and it's not going to cost you anything. But I have a business to run here. I mean, that's one thing I feel like small business owners really don't do enough. They don't think of themselves as a manager hired by their business to manage their business. And there's a lot of things you do as a business owner that if you hired someone to do what you're doing, you would fire them so quickly. But because it's you don't, right? Because it's you. And so, I talked to my wife about this a lot. We just sold our really, really low-key property management business to Jake. We were managing. My wife was managing like 12 short-term rentals. 13 short-term rentals, and just low-key pass them off to Jake. And I had that conversation with my wife a lot because she's not very business-minded, and she would say that as well, just for the record.
Yeah.
But we'd have these conversations like, dude, if you were hiring someone to do this, like, what would you expect from them? And like, how would you want them to deal with it? Specifically when you're talking to somebody who's asking for accommodations, right? You have one of your property owners asking for an accommodation. We're the owner, so we might say yes, but it's like, no. We're a business here. What would a business owner expect you to do? Well, what's in the best interest of the business? So anyways, I'm sorry, that was a long...
Accommodate them.
Yeah. Well, accommodate them, but reasonably so. Like you have to watch out for the business first. That is my first priority. And then if I can do it in a symbiotic way where everybody's happy, then great. But like, I can't just, come up with $100,000 tomorrow.
Yeah.
So let's see how we can work this out.
Yeah.
I think that in my experience, a lot of this stuff can be mitigated in the pre-conversations, right? So I would probably have something in there like, listen, if someone dies, or if I can't do anything, like once this is signed and once we're in this, you can't get out of it. Like this is...
Wouldn't that have been a great thing to
remember? I know, right?
Oh, gosh.
But it would just probably be some sort of, a little addendum that I have in there. Like, listen, whether we're buddies, you're my dad. Yeah. Like, listen, once you're in this, you're in this. So you need to make sure this is right for you.
Yeah.
Because once we're going and you ask me later down the line, I'm going to tell you no. Yeah. Now, being that I am a big freaking softie, even at that point, if someone came back and was like, hey, man, I need it now, I would do exactly what I said. I would try and accommodate as much as I could. But just those pre-conversations of like, hey, man, this could get hard. This could get difficult. We both need to be in the know. All of the data and information has to be here now. And we talk about it now. So when we get down the road, there's no questions. But
yeah, I think that's a really good point. Like the whole adding something like that to the contract. I once had an attorney say agreements should be called disagreements because you have an agreement, a contract with somebody, and you just put it in your drawer and you only pull it out when there's a disagreement. And so like, I guess one thing moving forward is like learning from this. I mean, like, okay, maybe there should be something in my contract that says, there's no buyouts, but if you need a buyout, here's the process. Here's how we try to buyout's the wrong word. There's no early terminate. What would you call it?
Just like no prepayment.
Yeah, no prepayment, right?
There is no prepayment.
And if you request it, it's gonna cost 10% or and I'm gonna need at least 3 months or
Yeah, so I had this happen, obviously, and
I thought it was all hypothetical.
And I wish I would had kind of seen it coming beforehand, right? So that was a good learning lesson for me. I just call it tuition at the end of the day. And what I did, I
love that.
I just I wrote her a check, and I was like, okay, because like you said, like I don't borrow money necessarily because we don't have any money. It's just I like to keep my money for outstanding deals that come my way. And so I wrote her a check, and you know, it was no hard feelings, but it was a really good learning lesson because, you know, if you can't afford to lose this money, don't lend it. You cannot lend money that you can afford to lose. And on Instagram, like I have people all the time, like, hey, I have 25,000, I have 50,000, I have 100,000. Like, how would you do it? What would you do? You know, I invest with you? And it's most of the time it's like, I look at their page, I'm like, no, just because it's okay to turn people down because you don't learn about people's character until things go wrong, right? Because when things are good,
yep.
things are easy. Just like, you know, marriage and your girlfriend, you don't learn how hard they are to deal with until they're not happy.
Very true.
You know, so same thing goes with partnerships.
Yeah.
Business partners, it can get ugly, and it can get ugly fast.
So what are you doing now moving forward to try and avoid those situations?
Having the conversations up front. I've been through 3 more, you know, private loans since that one. And I always say, you know, if you need this money and you cannot afford to lose it, not that you're going to lose it, but I just want you to don't ask for it back until, you know, the 6-month period or the 12-month period. So just have the conversations up front, and it sets expectations.
Yeah.
It's super important.
Do you, I assume you do, but do you do business like this with friends and family, or do you try and keep a distance?
That's a good question. I like that.
I've used my sister as a private lender a couple times. But she's just more so like, here, do what you want with it. I don't care. Like, just give me my monthly check, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Want my mailbox money.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only true private lend or private or passive income. But I don't see why not. As long as you're setting expectations, you know, with friends and family, I think it would be fine. I wouldn't go into business with a friend or a family member as far as actually starting a business or buying a business. Probably because I know my friends and my family members. They're just wouldn't be a good fit. But yeah, what do you guys think about that?
Oh man, I mean, maybe. Depends.
I was obviously in business with my dad, right?
Yeah.
So I did it and had a really good relationship with my pops. You know, he's like, you know, one of my best friends now that I'm older, and you know, I'm still his son, but I'm, you know, not 12 anymore, right?
Yeah.
But it always got tough. You know, especially you're on a job site and like, son, we needed this in our material package. We needed this for whatever, and I just forgot, right? And he'd be like, dude, what's going on? I'd be like, man, I worked 12 hours yesterday. I worked on Saturday. Like, well, that's not an excuse. Like, we still need the stuff.
Yeah.
Or for him, I'd be like, Dad, why are you doing it that way? Because this is how I've always done it. Well, it takes you twice as long. Why aren't we doing it this way? You know, like there's always just things that happen. And I think you can continue to have a good, strong relationship with someone who is a family member or a friend, but it's way more difficult. I mean, it is like being married. You know, being married is hard. You have to continuously work on that craft, like every single day, or else if you don't pay enough attention to it, it'll start to dissolve.
Yeah.
So you got to work way harder at being a good father and son, or a good buddy and a buddy, or whoever you're with. And I mean, I think that's kind of the case with anyone too. So it's like, do you want to go into business with someone you don't know at all? Like you said, when things get hard, how are they going to react? Mm-hmm. Well, I know my dad's going to react. He knows how I'm going to react. So maybe that is a better thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, partnerships are just always hard. They're always difficult. Like,
for sure,
at the best day, they're difficult. So I don't know. It's tough.
I think I definitely would, but you'd want to have those really hard conversations up front. You know, talk about like the inevitable bullshit, and talk about how you're going to deal with those things. And you got to have a relationship with the person that you're close enough that you can call each other out and know that that's not going to affect the relationship. which is why I think spouses, like, most of the time shouldn't do business together, because it's like, like Andrew and I and another partner, we did a flip together, and if someone did something wrong, you could call, we were close enough friends that you could call the other guy out and say, hey, come on, you messed up. You got to fix that. But that doesn't go over well with my wife,
Yeah.
It's the same reason why I say you can't have your spouse be your accountability partner. They let you off the hook too easy too. So it really depends on the person.
Yeah,
Most of my
you
friends,
haven't met
no.
my girlfriend. Jeez, let me tell you. I mean, you will. I think we're planning a dinner, but having that person that holds you accountable, it's tough because I take it personal. I'm sensitive, so I take it personal. I'm like, she'll see me doing something I say I'm not going to do anymore, or I'm going to cut back on. She'll be like, hey, what's up with that? I'm like, oh crap. It's a blessing more than anything.
No, that is a cool thing. My wife and I aren't that way with each other. We're very we're supportive to a fault with each other.
Yeah.
And a lot of time, and we've talked about it. I'm like, we need people in our life who can call us out, and it's not us, it's other people.
It's nice that you know that, right?
Yeah, we totally know that. Yeah, when we're trying to I'm trying to get back in shape right now, and it's like, I'm not gonna go to her and have her be my accountability partner. But Andrew, if I say, here's my goal for this week, or this is my monthly goal, I need to get my heart rate up this many hours per week and so on, and I don't do it, he's not gonna let me off the hook.
Yeah.
He's not gonna be a dick, but he's
probably.
not. Well, you're not gonna.
Maybe he needs to be.
He's not gonna make an excuse for me.
Yeah.
He might say, so why did you fail? And then what can you do to mitigate this? But he's not gonna say okay, it's okay. It's not okay. It's not. You made a promise and you broke it.
Yeah.
So
I think at the end of the day, it's you need to be able to have hard conversations with that person and them not take it personal. Easy conversations. Easy conversations, hard life. Hard conversations, easy life. You need to be able to have those hard conversations with people and know that they're going to receive it well. I feel like that's what it is.
I think it all comes down to what's the purpose of business, or what's the goal in a business? It's to stay in business, right? What's the goal of marriage? It's to stay married.
Yeah.
You don't win at marriage. You don't win at business. You don't win at health, right? The goal is to stay healthy, to stay in business, and to stay in marriage. So looking at there's not an endpoint to it, right? At all. So how do you function in the day-to-day to stay on the track of progression forward? Because that's why it's happily married. Okay, but for how long? How long have you been happily married?
yeah.
Or how long will you be happily married? Because it's not something you win at.
Yeah.
That's really good, man.
That's really good.
I like that.
Yeah, I heard someone say, people are always talking about work-life balance, and he said it should be work-life balancing. It's constantly balancing. You're never balanced.
You're always out of balance.
Yeah,
one way or another.
And so you're just balancing. You're constantly trying to figure it out. And I mean that goes for everything in life. It's all a balancing act. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. That's one place I definitely need to get better.
Yeah.
In time, I'm probably like this, where I would need to be like this.
Yeah.
So that's something I want to work on, maybe after this year or next year or something.
Future you problem. Future Jake can worry about that. Screw that guy.
Yeah.
Well, it's different seasons too, right? You're in grind time right now, man. You're getting after it, and there will be times when, maybe you're spending way too much time, in tropical places, and you got to bounce back out, and it's just a season of your life where, you're crushing it right now, and you want to keep crushing it.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. It's the goal, but I think with the people, and I'm definitely not there. Maybe someday, but the people that are successful and completely financially free and can solve all of their problems and their friends' problems, their family's problems, and their community's problems. The people that get to that point, I mean, they're not spending time on a tropical beach when they've reached that point, right? Because they have a purpose. And my purpose is not to sit on, okay, maybe for 3 days. I can go away for 2 or 3 days. And then I'm bored. I don't feel like God put me on this earth to sit on a beach and drink a margarita. That's just a waste of time.
Dude, and it's so beautiful for a little bit, but it's you
looks
get
the
it.
same
Yeah.
after a couple days,
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
So yeah, that's kind of the way I look at it. Like I haven't been on a vacation, you know, in many years. And when I do go on my first vacation, which she's really pestering me for, like soon, it's gonna be some anxiety related to it, right? You know, being away from the phone, you know, being away from my computer. So we'll see what that's like.
Yeah, bro. That's I
A few
totally.
years, man. That's awesome. I mean, that's awesome, but also, wow, you've been grinding.
Yeah, I mean it's a season though. I think it's a season. I think maybe till I'm like 35. I'm 32 now, so like 3 more years of like this many hours per week, and then maybe take a not a step back, but transition into, you know, a higher level role where I'm out of all of the day to day. But it's hard to see that, you know, because it's far from it now.
Yeah. Do you mind talking to us about delegating? Because obviously you wear a lot of hats.
Yeah.
You have a lot of businesses. Um, how that's a very common problem I see with entrepreneurs. Definitely raising my hand. Finding, you know, I know that there's only so many hours in the day that I can work on things, and then trying to find out what is my highest and best use. Like what are the things that only I can do, or I can do better than anybody else. And then what are the things that I'm overqualified to do that I should delegate, or if I delegate that, someone else might be able to be even better than me at.
It's funny because I feel like we're delusional in the fact that we don't think somebody else can do our job the
Right.
same way. And there's only a couple things that truly nobody else can do. Your ability to fake it with clients is probably something only you can do, right? That's not something you can delegate out. Everybody has their genius, and mine, you know, I haven't really put my finger on it per se, but I delegate a lot of things out. I have a full-time like personal assistant that's here stateside, that's in Washington, and I have a full-time personal assistant, virtual assistant. You know, she's in the Philippines, and then we have 4 full-times, and we're delegating everything out from paperwork, everything to talking to customers, to talking to clients, creating annual reports, monthly reports, weekly reports, stuff that you don't think is possible to be delegated. I would say 99% of the 99% chance you're wrong, right? Because you have to do it one time, record it on Loom, put some effort into it, put the hour it's going to take, and then you have it filed, and you've just taught somebody else how to do it. And yes, it's work up front, but it's only work up front one time.
Yeah,
it's all about
dividends on the back
leverage,
end. Yeah.
leveraging it 100%. So if I was an agent, I would probably get in trouble because I would have a virtual assistant just write all my contracts for me, and that's not allowed, you know?
Yeah.
So I love leverage.
Yeah.
And I do wear a lot of hats because there's just the different businesses. But as far as like the property management business, like I don't go to properties. Like I had to go serve a eviction notice, but I don't go and do maintenance, or I don't do showings. I don't do any of that. Like, not that it's beneath me, not at all. It's just there's people that can do it better than me. I can't show a place like somebody else could. I definitely can't fix something like somebody else could. I'm not good with my hands. I'm not a construction worker. I don't have that skill set.
Well, and it's not your highest and best use.
Yeah.
Your highest and best use is acquisitions, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
It's getting in front of people, buying their businesses, auditing their businesses, and determining what you can pay for those businesses, and then acquiring the money to buy those businesses. That's your highest and best use, and those things would be harder to delegate, I would assume. I mean, that's not something that you see an ad for on Indeed. You know?
Yeah.
Pretty rarely, right?
For sure.
But there's plenty of people looking for a $25 an hour job to go show tenants homes. And there's nothing wrong with that. But
No, nothing at all.
frankly, you're overqualified for that.
Yeah. And I'm not going to do it as well either. Right.
Yeah.
Just like I'm not going to go clean a place. If a cleaner calls out, clean got to get rescheduled.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to go clean it because I'm going to get us a bad review on online.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So starting out, how did you? Because obviously you don't have the cash flow to hire 6 employees like you have now. Starting out, maybe if you can give advice to an entrepreneur starting out who knows that they need to start leveraging their time, but they don't know where to start. What advice would you give them?
So Alex Hormozy says that you can learn any task or any skill, and become proficient at it in about 20 hours, right? It just takes you a long time to start that process. Once you've learned, you don't have to know something great to teach it. You have to know it good enough to get by until you can afford to put somebody else in that position. So whatever job it is that you need to replace that you're already doing, if you don't think you're good enough at teaching it, if you're getting it done, chances are that you can teach it to somebody that has a better skill set than you do, and they can pick up and run from there. So don't think you have to be good at all these things. Just like in construction, like most general contractors I've met are good, I would say okay/good at a lot of different things, but only great at like 1 or 2 things. And I think the same goes for people that are in business.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
Thinking
great.
about what you said. Can you talk to us about your experience with hiring a virtual assistant? I know that's something that a lot of people talk about, and they don't even know where to start, and they're scared about doing it.
Yeah, this is actually one of my favorite topics because I feel super passionate about virtual assistants and how great they are. But it's all on us because my first virtual assistant I hired was like 4 years ago, and because I heard on a podcast that they were hired a virtual assistant, they're doing all this great stuff for them. So went on to Fiverr, got a virtual assistant for like $3 an hour, and like, okay, this is what I want done. Let me know when it's done. That's literally almost it. And that's what a lot of people do. They don't put the systems and processes. They don't write the SOPs. They don't have, hours and hours of video to send them on like a Google Drive to show them exactly how you want it done. Because if you don't do that, if you don't put the time in up front, you're going to be unhappy with the results that you're going to get, and there's going to be tension. So before you even think about hiring a personal assistant, you need to make a list of tasks that you do that you want to leverage out. And a good way to do this is just set a 15, it's very annoying, but set a 15-minute increment alarm for your waking hours. And at that 15-minute mark, you just jot down, what did you just do in the last 15 minutes? So you're really inventorying what you're doing an entire day. And then after you have a sample size of 2 weeks, you can really look, okay, all these tasks that I'm doing, these ones can be leveraged out. And then you go and you make SOPs on what it is. So how do you do that every day? And you make a video of it on Loom, and there's your instructions. But if you don't do all that stuff, you're not going to be happy with the service that is provided to you. So you have to set them up for success. And once you can set them up for success, Fiverr, Upwork, but honestly, I would feel like your network would probably be the best. Just going on Instagram, going on Facebook, say, hey, I'm looking for a VA. And then you'll get referrals. You interview them, and you want to ask them good questions. Your typical interview questions. And for me, for somebody to do like accounting, invoicing, payroll, I don't care if their English isn't good. Like, they're not customer facing. Doesn't matter to me at all. Some of my best VAs are not. I can understand them, but they're not going to be talking to a customer. And then there are some that are customer facing that I want their English. I don't want to know that they're from another country just because I know how it's perceived.
Perception.
Because when people call me, like VAs call me, for off market, like I'm on a list and they call me happens, multiple times a day. And as soon as I hear that it's the accent, I'm like, oh, I know who's calling. And I just, say, no, thank you. I'm never rude, but it's the perception. So SOPs, and then get a referral from somebody you know and trust.
Awesome advice. Thank you.
Yeah. But it's crazy because I've paid $10 an hour for a virtual assistant, and I paid $4 an hour for a virtual assistant. And I think you do get what you pay for. So just keep that in mind, that cost of living is going up everywhere, and you're not going to be able to get people for dirt cheap for very long.
Yeah.
Interesting. So I feel like I want to ask some more questions about this a little bit because this has kind of piqued my interest.
About the VA specifically.
Yeah. So is there like, so you said you go on Fiverr. That's where you found them. Is there any other places that
Fiverr and Upwork, I feel like, are the
Fiverr and
the most common, but there are VA agencies out there that, which I don't know if I really vibe with, because, you pay them $7.50 and they pay their people, their virtual assistants like $3 an hour, and they make the spread. And I like it because I'm in business, I understand, but at the same time, and I've poached people from those agencies, because it's not like here where you have like a non-compete. Like,
sure.
Yeah.
My virtual assistant right now that I got from interview from an agency, I was like, hey, come and just work for me. Like, I don't have 40 hours from you right now, but I'll pay you for 40 hours because I know that I will have it, and the quality and the value you bring, and I know you're gonna get paid $450. I'll pay you $650. She's like, sure, no problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
for sure.
Exactly. So she's like, it's long term. I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be very long term. And she's like, okay, I'll do it. And there's some weeks that she has, because this is like the personal. She posts like, she does all the social media stuff. Some weeks she has 10 hours of work. I still pay her for 40, because some weeks she has 60 hours of work. Just depends. So once you find somebody, treat them well, hold on to them, because good ones are hard to find.
Is there anything else you're using like that in tech, or maybe AI, or anything that's kind of helping you delegate and make your life easier? I mean, you're spinning lots of plates.
Yeah.
Is there anything that's helping you out right now?
Lots of different software, from different kind of CRMs for the Airbnb portfolio that we just took over from you guys. There was zero automation, into the business. And, I spent about 20 hours in putting in just getting the messages automated more than anything. Right. And so that time up front is definitely important, and anything you can do to automate. And I know right now ChatGPT and is a big topic of discussion, right? And excuse me, I have a good friend, Bryce. He created closebot.ai, and he's having great success for off-market stuff. And I have screen recorded videos of the conversations they're having, and once they hit a target, it gets pumped into this bucket, and once they're in this bucket, it gets kicked to a closer that will call it and work it. And they're doing it for business, they're doing it for real estate, and it's pretty impressive. And it's kind of scary, but at the same time, I think there's always going to have to be humans involved. We're just creative, we're empathetic. We're never going to go away. I don't believe this AI is going to eliminate all the jobs.
No, I think it's going to make everything quicker, faster, better. Like you said, you even hear, I think there's, it was Joe Rogan, maybe Joe Rogan and like Steve Jobs. They like created an AI interview with them, and it's just completely like devolved of like empathy and the words and the verbiage that we use as humans. We get excited and then we calm down. Like it hasn't figured that out yet. Maybe at some point it will, but yeah. I think it's just going to make things better.
Yeah. I love watching those interviews, and the ones that are fake, because they're like 95% good, like real, you can tell, but then like their mouths move just a little bit different. And I've watched enough Joe Rogan and Elon that I was like, I know this isn't them, but it sounds just like them.
Yeah.
And Elon, it was like a big parody, and I was just like, what is going on? And it was like first thing when I woke up, and I was confused, and I was just like, wait a minute. But for people that don't watch them so much, that couldn't identify that this was fake, it could come off very real.
Yeah, it's kind of scary.
Yeah,
kind of scary. It's interesting.
We're just getting to the point where it's like you can't believe anything. I don't know. Half the times I see things like videos of people saying crazy things. I'm like, is that even real?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, it's wild.
Yeah,
it's a wild world we live in. Oh. Well, man, this has been awesome. Andrew, any more questions, or should we get to the final four?
I mean, I could probably ask you a ton, but I think we should probably get to the final four and maybe have you on again.
Yeah,
it's been great, man.
You guys seem great.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
All right, man. First question: if you had $20,000 to start a business from scratch in 6 months, unrelated to what you're doing. So you're doing a lot of things. So
Yeah, if it wasn't related to, real estate or, the supporting verticals, it would definitely be like a marketing agency. 100%. I would go to businesses and I would ask them, hey, if I could get you, a certain number of leads that turn into a certain number of revenue, and I keep 20% of the profits, would that be something you're interested in? Not a lot of people are going to say no to that. Anybody could come to me and say, hey, if I can keep 20% of all profits for the leads that come in, would you be okay with that? Heck yeah, I would.
Right.
So I'd go and we would just create funnels all day long, and we would put out lead magnets on social media and Google and Yelp and everything, and get them funneled in, and it would just be a marketing agency, 100%.
Is that in the works? You
No.
can do it someday?
No. So, I've committed to my business partner that real estate and the supporting verticals are the only things that I'll go after. And he's committed the same thing because we both have shiny object syndrome.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I could make, a few $1,000s a month there. And it's like, okay, or I can just spend an extra hour in our business and make $5,000 a month more, So if it's not real estate or a vertical of real estate, then I'm not allowed to participate in it.
How did you find your
enough.
business partner, by the way?
Facebook, the dating app. No, I'm just kidding. Wari, right? I was looking for a private lender, and took him out to lunch, or actually it was dinner, and it was with his his former business partner, and it went good. I mean, they were interested because of the market I was in, and then we just kept in contact, and then we did dinner again like a year later, and we didn't really talk maybe once a month, and I think it was the time where the time was right. So he didn't step away from that partnership, but he just didn't scale that partnership anymore, and we now we do everything together. We're a part of, even if it's something I'm doing on my own, like the Airbnb management, he's still getting 50% of the profits, and vice versa. Anything he does, like, it's just like an agreement we have because we're aligned on everything. And I know I've never met somebody that can have the output that I have. So, and I know he does. So that's why I'm like, okay, I know that he's not sitting at home playing FIFA.
Yeah.
Or, when there's stuff that needs to be done.
Yeah.
So
that's cool that you have that. I mean, that sounds like a really strong relationship.
Yeah, and it's getting stronger and stronger as time goes on. So
very cool.
That's awesome, man.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So outside of the top 50 business books, is there anything that's kind of impacted you along your path that you think people should read?
Yeah, I don't know if this is the top 50. It might be now, but traditionally not. But $100 Million Offers was
Alex Ramirez?
Dude,
Yeah.
It was so good. I've listened to it on Audible, mainly because I like his voice, but the information is pretty good too. But another book, Buy Then Build. So it's just about acquisitions and how you can buy companies, kind of roll them up into one and sell, at a later date. Another good book is Built to Sell. So building it with the eyes of selling it in the future. Those would be probably my top.
Love it.
Yeah, I bet
That's
that
awesome.
last book, I mean, everything that we talked about today, I kind of see that, like, I mean, your goal, I'm assuming, is to build these businesses that you have an empire that you could eventually sell. I'm assuming.
Yeah. I would say long-term, yes. But at the same time, like, I love the ability to have offer employment to people. Like, I employ my nephew works almost full-time for me. My dad's starting to work for me. Just little stuff like that. That makes me feel really good. And so I don't know if I'll eventually sell, but
Yeah.
I like this right now.
But building any business with the goal to sell, even if you don't sell, is still brilliant, obviously, and how everyone should build their business, because that's it makes it easier to get financing, makes it easier to get investors and partners and so on. So
it makes you do things right from the get-go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you're building your foundation right. Very cool. If you could go on a vacation anywhere in the world, you and your family, fully paid for, where would you go?
I think for me, it would just be somewhere very, very tropical. Fiji. I like the way Vin Diesel says Bora Bora. That place sounds nice. But I'm not a vacation person for like Europe to go and like be on the go nonstop looking at museums. I hate museums. I think they're dumb. But the Anne Frank Museum was decent, like because I knew the history behind it, so it was cool. But other than that, like I'm not really a fan. Like people are like, oh, let's do a Europe trip. That sounds exhausting. Like
I don't want to come back and be recharged. Not need a
100%.
weekend from a vacation.
Exactly, and I feel like that's what a lot of people do, and there's nothing wrong with it if they enjoy it. But for me, it would be, I want to go chill for a couple days and maybe do some like excursions. Go 4x or ATVs and that type of stuff.
Yeah, no, I definitely relate to that. I mean, I went to Europe in 2010, and I'm really glad I did it, and I'm sure I'm going to do it again because my wife hasn't been. But if she had been and didn't want to go back, I'm good. Like that, it was like I wanted to see everything, right? It was awesome to see the Colosseum, right? Yeah. But I've seen it now. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to see it again. Or like, museums can be cool if you see something. Like, wow, that's cool to see that. But people who go back to the same museum, like they have memberships. Like you keep going
that's
back.
A weird thing.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Didn't you already see it?
Yeah. So when I went to Europe, there's only really one place I was interested in seeing in Europe. What do you guys think that was?
Can you narrow it down to like where were you in Europe?
Netherlands.
Not what I was going to
guess.
I
really just want to see Amsterdam.
Okay, Amsterdam. Okay, there we go. Absolutely. How was Amsterdam?
It was great. Needed a vacation when I was done from it. Yeah, but also did like Brussels, Bruges, Ghent, and all the surrounding countries and stuff. So
very cool.
Did you have their French fries that you dip in mayonnaise?
Yeah, they didn't call it mayonnaise. It was called something else.
And it's a little different from mayonnaise, and it's dope. It's so good.
It wasn't bad.
I liked it.
Yeah,
I really liked it. It was like lemon.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
It was like
an aioli?
Mayonnaise. Yeah. But most people we were with thought it was super gross, and I just.
And one thing I didn't really like about traveling to drinking in those places was weird because everybody drinks beer.
Yeah.
Everybody, and it just wasn't common for the place. Like most of the places we went didn't even have hard alcohol. It was just like beer, and I've never really been a big beer drinker, so I was like, oh, this is. I would drink a beer and I just feel bloated and tired, and so.
You're like, this is not great.
I'll take my, my fruity drinks, on the beach.
Yeah. Good answer.
Okay. Final question. What is your favorite? You don't have to believe in it. I'm preface with that. What is your favorite conspiracy theory?
As he takes a drink of Red Bull.
So there's probably, I can't narrow it down to one, right?
Oh, that's perfect.
So
you don't have to.
Number one is, I'm a firm believer that 9/11 was an inside job.
Oh, shit. We knew it was going to happen at some point. And ladies and gentlemen, here it is.
The evidence points to it. The video evidence points to it. I've done literally way too much research on this. I'm embarrassed to even talk about it.
You're in good company, buddy.
So
don't even be embarrassed.
That's one. I'm a firm believer that COVID-19 was a man-made virus that was released with intention to test compliance with like a population. Like how can we get, or how are people going to react when they need to be controlled?
You think that was the intent? It was leaked on purpose to do it?
Oh, 100%.
Oh, wow. Okay.
100%. And if you look from a 30,000 foot view, you can kind of see it a little bit more about, because if it wasn't, things would have changed. Things would have been done a lot different in the healthcare field with the medications that were approved. Because why is the medication approved right now to treat COVID-19? It was yanked when we were using it early. It was said to be harmful, right? But now it's the number one drug used, and we've had research. It's a very old drug. So those are the probably the two biggest ones that I do way too much research about this stuff.
Dude, it's I mean, we already have like the COVID tag on this thing, right? So we're good. We can just roll with this. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you are. If you really look at from the top down, from like the 50,000 foot view, dude, it's wild. There was like 40 new billionaires in big pharma that were created in that short period of time. There was there's just so much stuff that is just really gross because you don't want to think that humans are capable of doing things like that. Mm-hmm. But
and this isn't just for anybody listening. This isn't saying COVID wasn't real. 100%. I think COVID was real.
Same.
And I've seen close to 1,000 people die of doing CPR and hundreds of people. Like I know it killed people. Saw them. However, just because it's real doesn't. It's not. They're not. The two things are mutually exclusive, right? So, and then Epstein didn't kill himself.
Okay, that's not a conspiracy.
That's not. Yeah, that's not. That's not a
Epstein
conspiracy theory. Let's
no
go.
way. Does anyone actually believe he killed himself?
No, I've talked to literally 0 people who think that he
Same.
killed himself.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've not heard one person say, "Oh yeah, no, he definitely killed him." No, that's not happened one time.
I'm just waiting for something to be released where we have a list of names.
Oh, dude,
You know.
it's like
No,
he's
they're gonna
has
kill
a
every single
blacklist.
person who has
Yeah,
that list.
I mean,
it's not
clearly.
gonna happen.
He has a blacklist of like with dirt on like most of the important people in the world, and then he kills himself. Like, come
When the
on.
cameras weren't working.
And come on.
And the coroner's report's like, oh yeah, definitely,
Looks like he was
strangulation. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that one is.
So do you have any insider information or not insider information, but any research you've done that kind of shows maybe where he comes from, like what organization?
Epstein?
Yeah. Because there's been lots of information thrown around that he was
CIA.
He was CIA,
Yeah,
or he
I
could
mean,
have been what's the British organization over there? They're no, isn't MI6 there? That's their like special forces. I think.
Yeah, most of the research I've done points to CIA with intention to get close to powerful people to get blackmail on them.
Yeah.
And it's
What the
crazy
CIA
world.
would never do that. They don't have a history of doing weird shit like that.
Oh, I'm sure.
Have you ever heard that comedian who he says there's like one type of people I don't trust, and it's people who don't believe in conspiracy theories. Have you heard this?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, it's so funny. He's like, now I'm not saying you got to believe in all conspiracy theories, but you don't believe in any of them?
Mm-hmm.
You think the government's just batting 1,000?
Yeah.
He's like, I have one son. I'm in charge of one person, and I lie to him all the time. It's like, duh.
Yeah. And if you don't think people will cheat and steal in everyday life for $5 or for $10 or, say throwing games when you're a sports player.
Cheating golf, yeah.
Like, you don't think people will cheat and lie and steal for the power of, millions and billions of dollars?
Yeah,
Like,
when that number is 10 billion, 20 billion, 50 billion.
But
Yeah,
Jake,
they're
they
gonna
have
stay
our best
clean.
interests in mind. They're in government because they
Only
wanna
God
make a
has our
difference.
best interest in mind.
Oh my gosh, yeah,
And when I meet people that are like, I don't believe in conspiracy theories, I'm like, dude, we know, like MK Ultra, Project Blue Book, Project Paperclip, like all these things we know happened. Like we
have
know
proof.
today.
We have proof of.
We have absolute proof that they happened and they lied about it.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that now. But now, today, they've completely cleaned up their act. Government's all on point. No one's doing anything sketchy.
they just fixed it.
Nothing to see
Everything's fine
here.
now.
Yeah. And our president can't even get a sentence out of his mouth,
The amount of drugs that man is on before each speech has just got to be incredible. That cocktail would be just, mwah, love to try it just once.
I don't care who wins, but in 2024, I'm looking forward to just seeing a new face, right?
It won't be.
Oh, there's no
It's Biden, Trump, too. I guarantee it.
I don't think Trump will stand a chance with DeSantis. I think he'll run circles around him.
I mean,
especially with the 37 counts that he just got arrested for. So it's just, I don't think there's a chance. And even the Democrats are very unpleased with Biden and the way things are going.
Oh yeah,
which they should be, because it's atrocious.
Yeah. So it's, I think we'll have a new face of a president we've never had before. So I don't think Trump will have a chance, and I don't think Biden will have a chance. So I'm excited to just see a new face and get some
leadership, man.
Some
leadership, some ownership. Like, I'm a big fan of Jocko's stuff. Jocko Willink, I don't know if you follow him.
Extreme Ownership's a great book.
Yes, great book. Like, we need someone who's not going to do this. Like, it's their fault. It's their fault. It's their fault. Like, okay, listen, man, we got some work to do, and it's on me to do it, and let's get it done. So, Jocko, if you're listening, Jocko 2024.
Jocko, Joe Rogan, Elon Musk.
Man,
Joe would never do it.
I don't think he would do it either, but I'm just saying,
No.
like, there's so many great libertarians out there that could lead, but it's not meant for everybody. I wouldn't want the job.
No,
hell no.
Heck
Hell
no.
no.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem. You know, everyone who deserves the
upside's
job
not
does
there.
not want it.
Yeah.
No, it's terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, look at presidents.
Kind of person to want to be the president.
Yeah, and, well, I mean, just look like you've all seen the pictures of like 4 years after or 8 years after they've been sitting as president.
Like Obama.
They age like 20 years.
Yeah.
It's wild. And you got to think, okay, why? Well, you probably know some pretty fun secrets. We know there's aliens, and all of the other stresses that
that
come
was
along
going to
with
be in my
running.
top 3, but I think there's enough proof that it's not really a conspiracy theory anymore.
Yeah, I don't. Okay, listen.
Do you not think there's aliens?
No, I do.
He 100%
No,
does.
I do. I really want there to be aliens. So that's not fair. But I've heard some pretty interesting arguments about it being us. That it's our government. We absolutely found alien stuff. Area 51, all the stories surrounding aliens over the last 60 years.
Yes.
And we have duplicated it. And it's us.
I don't doubt it.
Which, the way that things are going right now, okay, you know, we gotta end, we should probably end this podcast.
We're all gonna get arrested
Dude,
or killed in 20 minutes.
Yes, I did not kill myself
I did not
on
kill
the
myself.
podcast.
Yeah.
Also, just making that clear.
Yeah, I'm not depressed.
I'm very happy. I'm a happy person.
Oh man. Okay.
Oh my gosh, dude, this was really a fun episode. Thank you so
sure.
much for doing this. Can you plug yourself, plug your business if people are interested potentially in selling their businesses, or if they're looking for a property manager? Tell people how they can find out more about
anybody is in the Pacific Northwest that has a small business that they want to sell, that they might not even think it's sellable, or if they know somebody that has this business for sale or going to be exiting soon, Instagram is probably the best way to get a hold of me. It's just wealthyrn_. But if you just on Facebook, it's just Jake Furfaro, and shoot me a DM. I'd love to connect with anybody that wants to chat.
Right on, man. Well, this has been great. Thank you again.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Okay, everyone. Well, thank you for listening. We appreciate it. Check us out on the Chatter Network and anywhere else you listen to your podcast. We'll see you all next time.